immunity. Then after we go
Like your
through
boots,
this,
they're
we
cute.
are going to go over your results for the slab that you did. You know, so that the reagents that you're gonna be adding to your MBIC and what you're gonna be looking for. And then we'll take a break and then you'll come back and take your test.
You're totally in.
So we've already talked about, the first two lines of defense were part of the innate system. We're born with that. It acts the same against anything that is invading your body. And, on the third line of defense, it acts differently than what's invading your body. It's specific for a certain type of antigen. And an antigen is part of a microbe or a foreign substance of some sort. Anything that's not supposed to be in your body is an antigen to your body. So this adaptive, or you could say acquired, because this one develops after you've been born. And for the first 6 months, you know, you have some sort of immunity from your mother. And then after that, that goes away. So after you're born, you start acquiring your immune system as to what you might be exposed to. So this one is defense against a particular microbe or foreign substance. And this one has a memory. So there's a component where there's going to be some memory cells that the next time that you become exposed to the same thing, your system's already ready to go. So it's a much quicker response than at the beginning. And this, the acquired or adaptive immunity, there's two parts to it. One is the humoral immunity and the other one's the cellular immunity. And when we're talking about the humoral immunity, we're talking about the cells producing antibodies against the antigen. And this is from the B cells, or also known as the B lymphocytes. And the cellular immunity has to do with the T cells or the T lymphocytes. Same thing. It's short for T cells. There's two types of acquired immunity. That could be passive. That is where antibodies are transferred from one person to another, and or it could be active, and that's where you're actually exposed to the antigen or the disease, which is the antigen. So you can either get immunity passively from usually your mother, and or you can get it actively from the disease. So active immunity can be either natural, so you naturally acquire active immunity, and that means that your immune system is going to be making its own antibodies and lymphocytes. And the lymphocytes, where we said, are the T and B cells. When you are exposed to a disease-causing microbes or some sort of foreign substance that gets into your body, or maybe a toxin that one of these microbes might produce. And so that would be naturally acquired active immunity. You get exposed to something and your body starts making antibodies against that antigen. You can also, under active immunity, have artificially acquired active immunity. This would be like a vaccination. So vaccines contain weakened or dead organisms or toxins. That's your antigen. And then these antigens stimulate the immune response, but they don't cause you to come down with the disease, usually. The body's memory cells remember that antigen, and the next time that you're exposed to that antigen, they're ready to go. It's your vaccine. Yes.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I always toxoid, the weakened or the, these are are toxins altered.
Yes.
Toxoid.
Toxoid.
Isn't that only for endo?
No. No. And you?
I just have a question about like the vaccinations. You've seen those videos of people who say like I don't know, they get all messed up, like the girl who has to like walk backwards. Is that stuff real?
Well, sometimes people have, adverse reactions to a vaccine. Yeah. I mean, I don't know
extreme?
about walking backwards, but you can become sick from the vaccine. It can actually cause the disease. Usually it doesn't, because it's supposed to be in a weakened form. And my daughter got from I don't know if they still do this, but when you got married, you had to be tested for measles. The woman did, because measles is one thing that can, affect the fetus. And so she had to get vaccinated against the measles. She came down with a full-blown case of measles right after that. And then they don't do smallpox vaccines or vaccinations anymore. But my oldest son, I had to take him to the hospital after he had that vaccination. So those things are rare, but they do happen. I don't know about somebody walking backwards.
Well, it was just some weird video. Like she just was tweaked out and like she had to walk backwards in order to speak right or something. I don't know. It was really
I don't
weird.
know. I guess it's possible. Not probable, but
It
possible.
was from the H1N1 thing though. When people were saying
The
it's-
influenza vaccine?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's pros and cons to vaccine. Passive immunity, that's where the antibodies are already made, so those get introduced or passed on to an individual. Means that the individual isn't making its own antibodies. So naturally acquired passive immunity, that happens, that can be passed on from the mother when the baby's inside, goes through the placenta for antibodies, and it gives that fetus the same immune system that she has for a while, up to maybe 6 months. Also, when the mother is nursing, there is IgA antibodies that get passed to the baby in colostrum, and that's the very first secretions when you're breast feeding that come out, and that imparts immunity to the fetus. But that's passive rather than active. So those won't last for forever. They're just for a certain period of time while those antibodies are there. Artificially acquired passive immunity, those are antibodies that come from either immune animal or human, and are so they're going to take them out of that person, and then they process them, and then they get intravenously injected into another person to help them booster up their own immune system. So if somebody in the family has hepatitis, oftentimes they'll give the other people in the family antibodies against it. This type of immunity only lasts for a few weeks, So antigen, I use AG for antigen, but it stands for antibody generator. That's where they came up with this word antigen. So it's any foreign substance that's capable of stimulating the immune system and provoking that immune response. And so an antigen is recognized by your immune system as non-self. Most antigens are large macromolecules, and they're easily phagocytized by the macrophages. They could be part of the microbe, like part of the capsule, or the flagella, membrane, or toxins. Just any part of that can be the antigenic part. Or they can be non-microbial. It could be pollen, so immune response is when people have symptoms of an allergy. The egg whites, blood cells, you get the wrong blood cell, it's gonna spark your immune system. Could be transplanted tissue or organs as well. So the immune system doesn't recognize the whole microbe, it's just recognizing a small part of it called the antigen. And that is called the antigenic determinants or epitopes. Epitopes bind with a specific antibody or T cell receptor. I have a picture, so I won't draw it. So these are the epitopes of these little things. And these Y-shaped structures are the antibodies. And so the antibodies have specific sites on them for these specific epitopes. Haptens are antigens that are too small to stimulate the antibody formation, so they have to be attached to a larger carrier molecule. So an example of that would be penicillin. It's small, it's considered a hapten, but if it combines with your proteins, it can stimulate antibody formation. You can see a picture of this in your book on page 472. So once that antibody has been formed, then it will work against penicillin without that carrier molecule. But to get the body to recognize penicillin in the first place, that it's an antigen, it has to be attached to a carrier molecule. So antibodies are also called immunoglobulins, and then they have an IG, that's for immunoglobulin. It's a protein that is produced by lymphocytes in response to the presence of an antigen. And that antibody is capable of combining then with that antigen. So each antibody has two identical antigen binding sites. There's your binding sites on the end.
I'm reading over the notes.
And over here as well. So each antibody consists of 4 polypeptide chains. That's what we have there. 2 identical heavy chains and 2 identical light chains. And they are joined together by a disulfide bond. So these are bound like that to hold its shape.